Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. And in today's video, I'm going to show off 6 cards and a pair of magazine covers. And my theme today is going to be just some uniforms that I consider to be beautiful. Some might look at them as being ugly. I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. They certainly are gaudy or garish uniforms, certainly for the time that they were wearing them. And this would have been during the periods of the 50s into the 80s. And I do have a few baseball examples as well as two football examples, and a hockey example. And I just think it's just a fun type of video to do. You're not going to see any of the traditional classic uniforms here. But again, these are the ones that just have those fond memories to me. And they're the type that when you put them on display, they're the ones that really stick out, these types of uniforms. And they're also great players that we're going to talk about as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First 3 cards we're going to look at is a 67 Topps Tony Perez, 51 Bowman Paul Tank Younger, and this 84 O-Pee-Chee rookie of Cam Neely. We'll take a closer look at the Perez first. This is the 67 Topps short print of Tony Perez. It's not certainly a rare or scarce card by any means, but it is a short print in the set. And this is just such a wonderful example of this card. I don't think the camera is going to do it justice, but this card has such great registration, and what I like most about it, certainly the sharp corners, but it's the gloss on this card when you see it in person. It looks like it was taken out of the pack yesterday. So I was willing to sacrifice centering a little bit on this card because I just love the gloss. That's what really drew me to this card when I saw it in person, and just love having it. And it tells a little bit of a story, certainly of the uniform of the day. So the Reds from 1961 to 67 wore this type of uniform. First of all, it had a regular looking C on the cap. It didn't have the point that you would often see, like the wishbone look that the Reds wore, certainly made famous during the time of the Big Red Machine. And the Reds continued to wear sleeveless jerseys that were made famous by the Ted Kluszewski card in 1957 Topps. And they wore them on the home and on the road, and they had these red undershirts that they would wear underneath them. Now, one of the distinguishing features that I really wanted to talk about and why I chose this particular card to show is because the way that Tony Perez is standing there in the batting stance and the camera angle, they got a great shot of the name being on the bottom of the jersey. And I really can't think of any other jerseys where the name was on the bottom of it, on the back of the jersey. And I just think it's really cool, just seeing it there in the large block letters below the player's number. And not something you see every day. So this card really stands out to me, and I just love having this card in my collection. Just a beautiful card. You can see the green back there with the white with the statistics and the black lettering. And also, of course, that pea green there on the bottom there with the Reds name emblazoned on the front of the card. Nice example. Now, this to me is one of the most beautiful football cards there is, and this is out of the 51 Bowman set, and I'd say for any sports card, just look at the size of that Rams logo on there, and then you got a nickname when nicknames are great, Paul Tank Younger, and just look at that beautiful purple sky in the background, and I just love in the distance you can see the clouds getting smaller and smaller, so you have a nice perspective in the photo there, and just look at the position that Tank is on this card, with that beautiful yellow and blue Rams helmet. Just such a gorgeous card, and this is one I've been looking for a long time. I wanted a really nice example of it, and I found one. And Tank Younger is a player certainly that stands very well in history of football. He played for the Rams from 1949 to 1957 and with the Steelers in 1958. Now, he was a two-way player. He was a running back and a linebacker. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, a two-time second-team All-Pro. But what makes him stand out is he went to Grambling, which was a historically black college, and he's the first player to ever play on an NFL team from a historically black college. He was 6'3", 225 pounds, and he was a powerhouse runner. Now, he got his nickname Tank from Collie Nicholson, who worked at Grambling, and he said, "I was watching him run over everybody, that he couldn't run around." Now, I had been a Marine in the South Pacific, and it reminded me of what I saw those tanks doing down there. Now, Younger was a tank. I'll tell you, when he ran, he was a super fast runner as well. He averaged 4.7 yards a carry in his career, and he was one of just the great players in those Rams teams of the early 50s. Now, in 1993, Tank Younger and Walter Payton, of course the Chicago Bears star, they were recognized as the two best running backs in the 100th anniversary team from all black colleges. So that's a pretty big honor considering the number of players that came through those schools. So just a great card to have in my collection. And I have several of the Rams players from the early 50s from the Bowman sets, and I just love to display them. They're ones that stand out. Last card I want to show is this Cam Neely 1984 O-Pee-Chee, the last card of this group. And he played from 1983 to 1996 for 13 seasons. But why I'm showing this card, Neely was certainly a great player. I'll talk about him more in a second. But I just love these old Vancouver Canucks jerseys, which they wore from 1978 to 1985. They're a black, gold, and orange. And what I didn't know about them, this is part of the fun of doing the research, is they had 7 V's on the uniform. So the sweater was what they call the top jersey, and then you have the rest of the uniform down below. And you can see the giant V going across his chest there, and then the V on his hip. And I never knew that those were meant to be V's. I just thought it was just part of the design. And it's one of those uniforms that some consider to be ugly. I just think it's so cool. And this card is just so beautiful with the coloring on the inside. It has like that matted look, and it all matches the jersey right down to the lettering here and Canucks. And then you can see it in his name as well, in Cam Neely. Just a wonderful looking card, one of my favorites in the 1984 set. And this again is an O-Pee-Chee. You can see on the back here the brighter color cardstock. The tops from that year would have a darker cardstock. But just a wonderful card. Cam Neely was a great player. He's a Hall of Famer. He went into the Hall of Fame in 2005. He was injured quite a bit in his career. Back then they played about 80 games a season in hockey, and he averaged 54 games a year. But he scored over 50 goals 3 times. And it was Patrick Waugh, the legendary goalie, that said that Cam Neely had the greatest shot of anybody he ever faced. He just had a lot of good things to say about him. He was certainly a highly skilled player, but he had that rare combination of being highly skilled and super tough as well. Just a wonderful card, and just love looking at this card when it's displayed. So here we have the May 30th, 1977 Sports Illustrated. This is a newsstand copy, meaning it doesn't have the subscription label down below. And as I've said in other videos, these are very tough to find, especially in nice shape. And this magazine is in gorgeous condition. There's not even hardly any wear along the spine. A little bit of corner wear in the corners, but these are not like cards the way they would grade. This magazine would grade very high because it has very minimal wear on it. I was lucky to find this. I've been looking for this magazine for a long time. It's one of those, to me, a magazine cover that just captures my childhood. I just remember these Pirates uniforms and just all the different combinations that they had on them. This is a first Dave Parker cover as well for Sports Illustrated. He appeared on 2 covers. And just look at that uniform. Look at the finish on his swing there. Just love this cover. And I picked up the 78 Topps MVP year card of Dave Parker. This photo would have been from 1977 because this is the first year they employed these uniforms. So starting in 77, the Pirates just broke all the uniform rules. They had an all gold uniform, an all black, a white uniform with the fat black and gold pinstripes, and they had the pillbox caps. And they had dozens of different combinations they wore. This being one of them with the gold pants and the striped jersey there. Just really screams 1970s to me, late 1970s, and just those Pirates teams of the day. And I'm so happy to have this because this just makes me feel like a kid again when I look at this Garish uniform that Dave Parker's wearing. And I like to think that on this card that he might be wearing those yellow pants if you took a shot of him down below the waist. So we'll take a closer look at the card. Gotta love the Cobra there. MVP year. And just it's got the purple script on the bottom with Pirates, and then the red, white, and blue shield in the corner there right above his head. You just see a nice casual Dave Parker just leaning on the rail there. Wonderful card. Here's a newsstand issue from Sport Magazine, November 1980. And this is from my father-in-law's collection. And again, newsstand, doesn't have a subscription label anywhere on it. This photo, Sports Illustrated gets a lot of credit and well-deserved for the great photography, but Sport Magazine had some beautiful covers as well. Just look at this creamsicle jersey here on these Tampa Bay Buccaneers players. And then the player on the top here is Leroy Selman, number 63. And I just love the photography on this because it makes him look ginormous in this picture. And he was a pretty big guy, but it just captured, just the size of this man and the presence of this man as well. This would have been the year, this was taken in the 1979 playoff game. This was the first playoff win in Buccaneers history, and it was on December 29th, 1979, when they beat the Eagles 24-17. And Leroy Selman won the 1979 Defensive Player of the Year. He was the first draft pick ever in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history. Here's his rookie card in the 1977 Topps, and just a beautiful example of that card. And I also have a 1979 Topps card of him wearing the orange or creamsicle jersey, as I like to call it, from the year that he won Defensive Player of the Year. But it was in 77 that he broke out and had a career high, 13 sacks that year, and he did get inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1995. He's probably one of the Buccaneers' top 3 or 4 players of all time. And he was one of those guys that really carried that team from obscurity. They were just a laughingstock when they first came in the league. They didn't win a game their first season, and then they made the playoffs and got to the NFC Championship in 1979. We'll just take one more look at this beautiful cover. One of my favorites. When I put it on my magazine rack, it just sticks out because of that orange jersey and the massive presence of Leroy Selman there. You have these two beautiful late 70s cards side by side here. 79 is one of my favorite sets, and then you have the 77. And they had a nice color combination there with the green, and then you got the orange stripe up on the top there with his name. It just goes so well with the jersey. Makes that card really stand out. Gives it that tropics feel. They played in the Tampa Bay area, obviously the Buccaneers, so it just really gives that feel, that Florida feel when you look at it. So that's all I have today. Appreciate everybody's time, and have a great weekend.